Welcome to another week of Independent Wine Advice with yours truly, Ben the Big Swig Edwards, and my colleague Dan Sims from The Wine Guide. Today we're going to South America because we've just come back from South America with the Meilleur de Sommelier du Monde, the best sommelier in the world competition. It was a fantastic experience. We got to experience Chile, the wine regions, and also Argentina and Mendoza.
Now, the wines from these two countries are becoming more and more prominent in our retail stores and also on restaurant wine lists. So we thought it was a really good way to come and have a bit of a look at it. Now, the fact of the matter is that these two countries are able to produce high quality wine for relatively quite low cost. You know, low labour costs, virtually hardly any disease pressure, and an abundance of this thing called water,
which directly comes from the Andes Mountains.
Absolutely. You know, for
ingenious irrigation.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of these wines are in direct competition with a lot of Australian wines, but you know, it's up to you, the consumer, to figure out what sort of styles of wine you're after, what you like, but they do offer a huge amount for Australian palates. Okay,
so we're going to get on with the tasting. The first one we're going to look at today is a little wine called Torrontés. Now, the producer of this particular Torrontés is Terrazas de los Andes. I just like saying that. This is a multinational, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. They own this project. Most of the wine that they produce is exported, nearly 100% of the wine that they produce. So what we're looking here is for a really international wine, and what you get is a beautifully clean, crisp, delineated style, exotic fruit, lots of flavour. Drink it young, because it's a bit like Viognier and it needs that young, fleshy vibrancy to show its best. Now, it just recently won a gold medal at the International Wine Challenge, as in 2 days ago, and so you know this is obviously a wine of great character. I particularly like it. You know, I'd be thinking sort of a 93, 94 point wine myself.
It's delicious. Now, we're also thinking about classic varieties for Argentina. Malbec is without doubt, you know, the king of wines when it comes to Argentina, and this particular wine from Felipe Rutine, a very, very good traditional producer. Actually sends a lot of its wine within its local market. About 70%.
Their domestic stuff is much more important to them.
Absolutely, and I think that really you see that in this style of wine. And for me, you still get that lovely, juicy, cored fruit with Malbec. You got that lovely, softer tannin and a dose of acidity, and that's the most important thing when it comes to Malbec, especially.
And also, this is a 2006, and they try and avoid talking about vintage characteristics because I reckon that they're all the same because it's a place they don't want to go. It's too hard. But the reality is, we saw 06s, we love them. We saw 07s, we weren't so impressed. This is an 06. We particularly like this wine. It looks like the essence of Mendoza, and great with dead meat on a grill. That's what they do over there. That's how it is.
Absolutely. This wine, particularly looking at around 91, 92 point wine, a really good drink. Great example of what Mendoza is all about.
Okay, flying across the Andes, and that's all you do. You go up and you go down and you're across into Santiago, and just south of Santiago is the Maipo Valley, probably one of the most important areas for wine production in Chile. This particular wine we're looking at is from Perez Cruz. It's a 2008 Reserva Carmenere. Now, this Carmenere has links to Bordeaux, but people aren't quite sure, so it might be the lost Bordeaux varietal. But what we see in this one is this essency, cassis, you know, really typical character that we see in all of the Chilean wines, but there's also this other savoury, kind of almost earthy, ashy, volcanic kind of character, which is either appealing or not appealing, depending on your taste. So, you know, get out there, give it a try. If it's not for you, don't go with it. If it is, have a crack.
No, it's a pretty good drink. It's a very good example of what Chile is all about. Now, also, we're talking about Argentina being Malbec. For me, when I think Chile, I think Cabernet Sauvignon. And this is an example from Nuevo Mundo, which is organically grown, and it's basically a project developed by Di Martino, which is quite a large producer over in Chile, is doing a really
Are there any small producers in Chile?
Well, not particularly. Most paying around 1 million cases, you know, very, very different. But what this wine is, it's a really good example of great quality wine at a very reasonable price. Now, it's got a lovely sort of cored fruit. We talk about that essency, cassisi sort of character, but again, a lovely tannic structure around it. Again, fantastic. I'm thinking charred red meats. I absolutely really like this wine. I'm probably thinking around that, again, that sort of 92 point sort of spectrum.
And I think most of these wines cover that kind of very good quality, low 90s in terms of their overall quality. But what they do deliver is a really good punch at their price. It's great to drink these wines from overseas, but don't forget we have wonderful wines in Australia. For those who just need to try something a little bit different, this could be exactly the tonic for you.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week for another round of independent wine reviews. We'll see you then. Cheers.
Cheers.